A Place Called Home is extremely different from other shelters. There's a lot of shelters throughout Ontario. Many of them are for men, many of them are for women. There's a few for families, but A Place Called Home is for families, singles, adults, people with kids, the elderly, and youth. We try to tailor our services to each person's unique needs.
We are on our 15th year, and that's very exciting. It's not really a celebration that we've had homelessness for 15 years here, but it's an acknowledgement of the services that we've been able to give for 15 years. As far as our roots go, they go way back beyond 15 years. In the 80s, there was a group of people who sat around tables for months on end trying to find a way to address the homeless situation. And through their work, ultimately on January 5th, 1995, we opened the doors to our first transitional home called McMurray House, and we saw our first homeless people.
Yes, so a client would come in and ask where they need to go. I would direct them to the shelter, but first I do need to contact the staff over at the shelter, and I do that over the phone. And at that point, they will let me know when the individual can come over and do an intake. And at that time, I will walk that client over to the hostel.
Well, I've been with A Place Called Home as a client support worker for coming up on 5 years now, part-time, full-time, and just working my way through the agency. As far as what it means to be a part of A Place Called Home, I think it's just a further extension of being part of the community. I'm involved in a number of different aspects of things out and about the community, and this is just another way to be involved. I mean, it's my primary source of employment, but it's part of what you give back to the community as well, just like volunteering anywhere else could be. You get a chance to interact with people at a time when they're, quite potentially in the worst day of their life, and you're the person at 3 o'clock in the morning who's meeting them at the front door. The ability to make the decision that's going to take this from the worst day of their life to being one of the most positive experiences they could have, to the stranger giving them help in the middle of the night and getting back on track, and all the way through to the you get to build a relationship with people here that you don't get in other sources of volunteering or community activism. We deal with clients for up to 6 weeks, sometimes even longer, through the outreach aspect. So you get to really help people along the way, and I think it's that source of community. You're just constantly working with people, working your way along with them, and trying to help them get themselves sorted out. And again, having the opportunity to be the most positive aspect of a bad situation, I think, is probably what I take away from working here.
Homelessness in Lindsay is a little bit different from homelessness in Toronto or bigger urban centers. Our homelessness is more situational. We get a lot of people who are homeless due to circumstances that are beyond their control.
A husband and wife who were both in their 80s. He had been a war vet, and they were the victims of a real estate scam. And so on moving day, they had sold everything, packed everything up in their old station wagon, and went to move into their new house to find that it wasn't there. You can imagine how devastating that was for a couple, any couple, but especially a couple in their 80s. That's something that should never happen, and again, that nearly broke my heart. But we were there. We were able to give them a place to stay and some hope, and got them in touch with the lawyer who did get their money back eventually. And we've seen them many times since, and been happy to share that they are doing well despite that major setback. Those memories will always stay with me.
Hi, we're here to get some help because we have nowhere to stay.
Come to the right place. Come on in.
Thank you.
So this is where they come in, and we'd ask them how we can help them. So then they'll usually tell us whether they're homeless or about to become homeless, and all their different troubles are financial, medical. Then we have a lot of paperwork. We have about 4 pages of questions. Go through that, and then we decide that they can stay here at A Place Called Home.
We provide emergency energy assistance. So if a family is in crisis and is facing a disconnection of utility, we try to halt a disconnection right away. So clients will come to our office, and we'll do an assessment, and we'll look at different ways of resolving their arrears problem with the utility company.
This is where we get some supplies, all donated. So we give them something like that, or a little care package like this. And this is where they store anything, any medications, any sharps. We put them in here. We can put anything. And if they want to store anything of value, they can put it in this little cupboard. Then we come to our laundry room, and we might get some bedding in here. Might grab a pillow because they're hard to find. And this is laundry that the residents that live here can use, free laundry. If it's a single person coming in, they're going to share a room. If it's a couple coming in, we'll try to put them in the same room. If it's a family, we put families of 4 in the same room because they want to be in the same room. This is the side of the room they would get. So we'd have to place it down, and then this would be the type of bedding they would get. They'd get a sheet and a blanket, and this would be it. Local calls and any long distance calls we can help if it's for housing or for family. Okay, so then I'll show them the living room.
We run 2 programs alongside of our hostel, and one is the Youth and Transition program and the other is the Outreach program. The youth program deals specifically with youth that are ages 16 to 25 and up to 32 with barriers, and we definitely consider homelessness a barrier. That program is put in place to help youth who are transitioning from moving from their parents' home or foster care or wherever they've been into adulthood and working with living on their own. So a lot of those services are really tailored to that kind of clientele.
If they were wheelchair, then they would get one of the bottom rooms. Anybody home?
Where we are today, I sometimes can't believe it. We are, as we said, 15 years later, we have a 19-bed emergency hostel that houses 19 people, feeds people 3 meals a day. It's fully staffed, and someone who is in trouble can come to us 24 hours a day.
Random donations, and we give them out just as incentives. Everybody helps clean, so at the end of the week we have a draw, and there might be something here that a kid would want.
So a place called Home sees roughly 300 people each year, and since 1995, since we opened, we've just passed our 3,000 point. So since 1995, we've assisted 3,000 people in emergency housing and helped them to move on to find housing, and that's a lot. That's a good chunk of our population here in Lindsay and the city of Kawartha Lakes. So when you think about it, when you think that you personally might not know somebody who's been homeless, or you can't imagine that there is homeless in Lindsay. I mean, that's an astounding number, and I would really beg to differ if you felt that you didn't know somebody who'd been homeless.
Volunteers are involved in almost every facet of our operations, and without them we'd be lost. They shop for our groceries, they cook up meals for our residents, they fix our computers, clean and help out at all of our fundraising events. On average, volunteer hours at a place called Home reach upward of 500, so it's pretty easy to do the math. We could never afford to pay anyone for what our volunteers give us out of the goodness of their hearts.
It's actually a great feeling to be a volunteer. It's like giving something back to the community, and it makes me feel good.
The main challenge we face is funding. Unfortunately, nobody likes to talk about money, but that's it in a nutshell. We do get a lot of support from the community and individuals who donate to us, businesses, corporations, and thank goodness they do. We get funding from the city downloaded through the province. That is called per diem funding, but again, it doesn't meet the need, it doesn't cover all the costs, and we don't get funded when we have empty beds, which is very rare, but our costs are the same, whether we have a full house or not a full house. We have 1 staff on only, so there's no place to cut back. We're sort of a bare bones operation, but right now we find that we're funding to keep our lights on, and so finding ways to bring in more funds to keep this place going is probably utmost on the top of my list.
Why did you come to a place called home?
Because my son was taken away when I was in prison. He was born and he was in Lindsay, and I had nowhere else to go, and I had nowhere else to turn to. I had no family here, and I needed somewhere to go. Like, there wasn't anything else. I was willing to sleep on a park bench if that's what it took to get my kid. They helped me realize like what a healthy lifestyle is and what's not healthy. I've just lived so long with all these bad things happening through my life that I just figured, you know, being in an abusive relationship was just normal to me. And then, you know, he helped me realize that. He helped me achieve getting my son, for sure. Like, without you guys, I don't think that would have been possible. Housing, I got into housing like within like a month and a half, which is really hard for a single male to get into a 2-bedroom house under the circumstances that I was under. Right now, what's my life like? I'm just about done school. December 2nd, I'll have my high school. I have plans for college and then university. I have my son back, which was, you know, the biggest goal of my life, and I know there's tons of other goals. In the gym, I'm on medication. I have like 5 different counselors for different aspects of my life, and I mean, it's really helpful that I have them. And I mean, I get outreach from you guys here, which is like a big thing, because if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be able to make half the doctor's appointments and other specialists that I need to see to help maintain my life.